Welcome to another video for Azure Learning, and today we are going to learn the Azure connectivity models. So Azure ExpressRoute offers multiple connectivity models to meet the diverse needs of organizations. So these are the connectivity models for the Express route. Okay. So what are these connectivity models? How exactly the express route is connected to your organization? How exactly that private connection is established? So we'll try to understand with the help of a diagram so that we can have the imagination in our head before we start conversation with our customers, like what exactly it is. Right, so there are multiple ways we can establish this express route. Let me give the name first. The very first is co-location. Second is point to point. Third is any to any, and fourth is direct. Now, in this video, we will try to understand the architecture, how exactly these connectivity model works, what are those models, when to use them, and what are the benefits, the criteria to choose one over the other. So that would be the agenda for this video. So let's understand the co-location. So before we understand the co-location, we need to understand what is co-location. So co-location is a facility. It's a facility maintained by a third party, or you can say third party operated DC or data center, which means where business can lease space to host their IT infrastructure. For example, this space is by someone, this space is by, let's say, AWS, this space is by maybe GCP, uh, this space maybe by some local or some business. Okay, so there, this is the facility, but they are space only is taken by the businesses for their IT infrastructure. So just to make a good example, let's call it AWS has space here, Azure has, there is some uh, manufacturing business, call it B1. There is another e-commerce business, maybe call it B2. So there is a data center which is managed by a third party giving out on lease to the other businesses, and they host their servers, storage, and networking equipment. So these facility often have high speed connection to cloud providers. For example, if Azure has their one of the let's suppose this is a building like we have flats. So one of the flat is belongs to the Azure. Okay, and that has the connectivity, high speed connectivity, because this is into the Azure. All right. So there is a way to let's say this is Azure. Okay, and the one of the we are calling it flat, or the area or the space that Azure has leased in this third party facility already have this connectivity to the Azure, or it is the Azure through the backend, right? So these facilities has high speed connections, very high, because this is a way to get into the Azure, and it is Azure to cloud providers, right? Now these facilities already equipped with everything like storage, cooling, power, backups, everything is provided by the third party, or the kind of arrangement that they have. So when business use co-location, they essentially share the facility with other companies while maintaining control of our their own hardware. For example, the entire facility, here is the Azure part, here is the AWS part. Now, if a customer comes who has AWS and Azure both, they want that connectivity. So it can be very easy, right? For example, this business wants the express route to get into the Azure. No need to dig everything, and create a pipeline. It can simply go ahead and have a connectivity from this third party facility as well, and get into the Azure through this facility, right? So that is what we call co-location facility or cloud exchange co-location service provider model. Okay. So just to rephrase, in this model you connect to Azure through co-location facility. And who provides some example, like here we have maybe Reliance or Airtel, in US Equinix or Megaport, where Azure is already available. So you set up a private connection to Azure within the co-location center, right? Now the question is, we understand all that. So the question comes, when to use this kind of connectivity model? Well, the answer is very simple. If you already have co-location facility, like you are running on that, so you need not to you need not to plan for the entire express route architecture that we will see in the next video. You can simply go ahead and opt for it. Like you can simply get out of your space and come to this space, right? Of course you have to engage the facilities. Now let's take an example of multi-cloud that I was trying to explain earlier, multi-cloud connectivity. Now, this model is ideal if you also need connectivity to other cloud providers in the same co-location center. For example, there is a business or a financial firm runs customer-facing applications on Azure but uses AWS for advanced analytics. So by co-locating their infrastructure, they can leverage the same facility for ExpressRoute to Azure and direct connect to AWS, reducing latency and complexity. Right? Now, if there is an when we should use it, there is another great example of transitioning to cloud. What exactly this means? Let's try to understand this. It simply means, let me give you an example that you could easily understand. Let's suppose there is a company or business B1, which was the manufacturing company. Let's suppose they have a legacy hardware. They cannot fully migrate to Azure yet. By moving this hardware to a co-location center near Azure and connecting it through ExpressRoute, they create a very nice high-speed hybrid cloud environment, maintaining their on-premises systems while gradually transitioning to the cloud, right? And no need to plan for things like everything. They are just moving into the co-location facility with their hard legacy applications running hardware, right? So they are utilizing this facility and easily connecting through the Azure. So transitioning to cloud, where the situation is as such that everything cannot be moved to the cloud, but it has to be hybrid, and the legacy is out of the lease is going to be expired soon, something like that. I'm just trying to create the example, right? So this kind of connectivity model is called co-location connectivity model. Now there is another model which is point to point, which is absolutely simple and clear as the name says. Let me open another sheet. This is a dedicated private connection between your on premises. This is your on premises data center, on prem. Okay. and Azure. This is your Azure. So what kind of connectivity model it is? It is point to point. As the name says, this is a dedicated private connection between your on-premises and Azure, provided through a point-to-point Ethernet link. Right, so this is your private connection, point-to-point Ethernet link. That is your private connection. Right. Now, when are we using it? It simply means this is our own facility. We are managing everything. This is not co-location. This is our office. Right. So the question is, when are we using this kind of arrangement? Well, when we have a single location connectivity, it's like it's best for business with a single data center, right? Single data center that needs a secure high performance connection to Azure, right? And if you require predictable performance for large scale data transfer or latency sensitive workloads, this is a great option. Or you could say when you have and you need a simpler setup and cost is not a factor. If you don't have a complex multi-site WANs, this direct setup is easy to manage, right? And we should always go with the architecture which is simple, not complex, right? So we can simply take an example just to understand. Let's suppose there is a organization, let's call it a financial trading firm. The firm has a primary data center in New York. Okay, this is New York data center and uses Azure for hosting financial trading platform, right? Financial trading platform or running on Azure resources. Could be VM, could be app services, could be anything, could be combination of all. So the challenge is low latency access to Azure is critical because even milliseconds of delay could impact the trades and cause financial losses, right? That's the reason I was saying it's financial firm. So the ask is low latency access, right? Hence the solution is they set up a point to point Ethernet connection with Azure through high speed link provided by a service provider. There is a service provider in between because you are not going to just connect through Ethernet link by yourself. So what are the benefits of using this? This connection ensures fast and predictable performance for their trading application, and their sensitive financial data remains secure as traffic bypass the public internet. Right. So this is point to point. This is point to point connectivity. What was the third connectivity? There was any to any. Let's understand any to any connectivity model. So this model integrates your existing WAN or IPVPN network with Azure, which is like this is maybe your WAN on-prem, okay, WAN, and it is uh, it allows all your location, offices, branches, etc. connected to the WAN to access your Azure through the same network, which means you have multiple facilities, branch offices, and offices. All these are connected to your WAN, right? Like this. All are connected to WAN, and you have Azure as well. So what you did, you have created an express route, connected your private connectivity to Azure through express route, and now all these offices can talk to Azure resources via WAN. So this can talk to Azure, this can talk to Azure, this can talk to Azure. Hence, it is any to any, right? Connectivity model. So when we should use it? Simple, when we have multiple locations, right? When we have multiple locations. So, or if you already use an MPLS based WAN, this model avoids the cost and complexity of building new connections. So if you already have this WAN, right? Or this is perfect for business with on-premises infrastructure that spans multiple regions or offices. So in a nutshell, if you have this kind of architecture on premises, then this any-to-any works perfectly well, right? Because you never know, maybe you don't want this to talk to the Azure right now, but maybe in future you have another office that would like to talk to the Azure. So this any-to-any works if you have this kind of architecture on premises, right? We can take a simple example. Let's suppose there is a retail chain, right? A company that operates, let's suppose, hundreds of stores worldwide, and each connected to its head office through an MPLS based WAN. Now they use Azure to host their inventory management system, inventory management system in Azure. Now, store need real-time access to Azure for stock updates, right? Now, real-time access, because only then we can have the right inventory number. So, but setting up individual connections for each store would be expensive, right? If we plan to connect this to Azure separately, this, then it will be expensive, time consuming, complex, and admin overhead. All right. These things will come if we plan like that. So what we need to do, we need to plan smartly. So the solution is this MPLS network is integrated with Azure through using ExpressRoute any to any. Right. So all hundreds of stores can access Azure through same MPLS network like this. It will go like this go this will go like this, right? And traffic between stores and Azure is private and secure, ensuring fast updates and updates to the inventory data. That was the real-time thing that we start this scenario with. Right now, it's time to understand the last model, which is direct model. It was not there earlier, so this is direct model. So direct model provides a dedicated direct connection to Azure from your on-premise infrastructure without involving a third-party service provider. What exactly this mean is, okay, where are the paints? If we see this one, point to point, or this one, right? They are utilizing this Ethernet link or this express route, but they are not creating it. There is a service provider in between, and there are meet me locations, right? That you will see in the next video that we will create on the architecture. Same goes with this one. There is a service provider from whom you may have the internet with, maybe Airtel, right? So you have this service provider here, you are connected to this service provider. Now this service provider will take you to this edge location, and you have edge locations here, which is connected to the Microsoft backbone internet, right? So there is a third party involved, providers are involved. But when we talk about the direct model, okay, direct model, it is without involving a third party service provider. So which simply means what's going to happen? It simply means very high bandwidth, ultra high bandwidth. So if you require massive bandwidth up to 100 gigs, up to 100 Gbps for operations like big data processing, right? Big data processing. So there are certain functions or certain processes which require that much uh, bandwidth. And if you go through the usual way, the highest you can get to the 10 Gbps, 100 only gives through the direct model. And of course, for industries like finance or government, this model offers the highest level of control and isolation. So, highest level of control and isolation, and ideal for organization with their own network backbones and no need for intermediaries, where you have such enterprises where they have that kind of huge backbone network. So, if we need to comprehend this properly, we can take an example of a company stores uh, videos, let's say high definition videos in Azure and process them using Azure Media Services. Now, their existing connections can't handle the terabytes of data they upload daily, causing delays in the processing and delivery. Right. So it would be a simple connection like this is your on-prem and this is your Azure. This is your Azure. Okay. What is happening as we say big data processing? Similarly, here, what we are doing, we are processing the high definition videos through Azure Media Service, and we are doing this this in terabytes every day. So the files which is going here, they need very high speed internet and which cannot be provided by the other connectivity methods. Hence, there is, if you remember, I've created always ExpressRoute like this, not showing here and here, but here it will connect it directly, right, like this. So there, they implement ExpressRoute Direct, allowing ultra fast, secure connection from their data centers to Azure. This is absolutely direct connection, no third party is involved. Now, this is the third party, and uploads are now completed in seconds because it is ultra, or maybe minutes because they have terabytes, right? The private connections ensures videos are transferred securely, protecting sensitive pre-release content, maybe, The point is direct connectivity model. And if you have any doubts, all the doubts will be clear in the next video because of the express route architecture, though I have give you a little hint when I try to explain it. Now let's go through how to choose a model, right? How to choose a model. What are the criteria? The very first criteria is the location. Why? Because that was our first uh, connectivity model, right? So if you are co-located in a data center, go for the cloud exchange or co-location. Or if your data center is standalone, use point-to-point Ethernet. The second criteria is number of locations. So if for a single location, it is always point to point. But if you have multiple location connected through IPVPN, then any to any will work perfectly fine. Right. Now the third is bandwidth. Right. For high bandwidth and security, choose direct. As we gave the example, for a standalone or for standard operations, the service provider model are cost effective. And there is one more criteria. If it is multi cloud or hybrid connectivity, if you're connecting multiple clouds or hybrid setups, cloud exchange or any to any works best for that as per the current situation of yours. I hope this was informative. We learned the four connectivity models in this particular video. We tried to explain when to use and how exactly it works. In upcoming video, we'll try to understand the architecture, decipher the ExpressRoute architecture through service provider, which will really help to understand all. Right. So till then, take care.